Welcome to Odds.com's NCAA basketball coverage for Thursday, March 4th with our expert, Maxwell Smart. Max, we are in conference tournament time in a very exciting time of year, and you've had an excellent season so far. You're coming off a 6-win, 7-loss day, down 1.65 units, but you are hitting 55.1%. You have cleared 400 bets here on the show, 227 wins, 185 losses, plus 25.11 units, ROI plus 6.09%, average line minus 109. Extremely impressive season, Max, and it is conference turning time. How you doing, my man?
You know what? It's the craziest time of year. It's the wildest time of year. And I'm just hoping that in these next couple weeks, I'm on the right side of the madness. And I think that the numbers are definitely going to get a little tougher, a little more difficult to find value. But with live betting and the ability that I have to dissect, to predict, to project when teams are going to go on runs, I think it's still going to be all right. And I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you've been extremely impressive. And I've enjoyed the opportunity to track your record and be on this roller coaster ride with you. So absolutely great work. 55.1% is extremely strong. ROI over 6% with 400 bets. Let me tell you this. You've made Peter Loshak very proud. You've made me very proud. And it is now conference tourney time. You have picked out 8 games. Now, they're not all conference tourney games, as just only a couple conferences have started their tourneys, but you have a good-looking schedule here. Are you ready to get to work?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We start at 2 p.m. Eastern with the Asun Championship quarterfinal. Kennesaw State Owls, 5-18 on the season, 2-13 in conference, versus the Liberty Flames, 20-5, 11-2 in conference. We are at UNF Arena, North Florida Arena, Jacksonville, Florida, and we are sitting with Liberty as 18-point favorites, or between 17 and 18. There's more 17 and a halves on the board. Bet365 is what I've been using as my opener. Hasn't opened or hasn't dropped this game yet, so we have no opener. This total here is 131 right across the board. So I'm not sure if there's been movement there, Max. Maybe you know better. Let's get to work here. We'll start with Kennesaw State. After losing at Lipscomb on back-to-back nights by double digits, Kennesaw State closed out its season in impressive fashion, winning 80-63 at home over Florida Gulf Coast as 4.5-point dogs. Terrell Burden, who's averaging just 6.8 points per game on the season, went for a season-high 20. Leading scorer Spencer Rogers went for 18. He's averaging 16.8 on the season. The only other player averaging double digits, Chris Youngblood, 12.3 points per game. Kennesaw met Liberty twice this year. Both games were on the road. Liberty won the first 69-63 and the second one easily, 76-47. Kennesaw struggles to score. They average just 65.7 points per game. They get poor distribution with 11 assists per game. No one averages more than 2.2 assists per game. They hit 41.8% from the field, 31.3% from three, and 66.7% from the foul line. Liberty closed the season on a 9-game winning streak. They last played in an easy 94-78 win at Bellarmine. Bellarmine had won 10 straight coming in, and Liberty just shot the lights out to take care of that game, especially Darius McGee, 34 points, 8 of 11 from distance. He's averaging 15.5 points on the year. Chris Parker had 19 points. Elijah Cuffey had 12 points. They're the other two Flames averaging double digits. Shiloh Robinson had 11 points and 9 boards. That's far above his 4.2 points, 3.8 boards on the season. They score 74.9 points per game, but they hold their opponents to just 58.9. They get great distribution, 15.9 assists, while only turning the ball over 9.6 times. Quality basketball team here. Shoot the ball very well. 49.1% from the field, 39.2% from three, 76.8% from the line. But the more important question is, can they cover this giant spread in the quarterfinal of the Asun Championship? And that's why we have Maxwell Smart here. What's the move, Max? How are you betting this Kennesaw State Liberty?
Yeah, Jim, with Liberty, this is a team that you can really fall in love with because this is a team that does everything that you want a team to do. Richie McKay has assembled a very talented group of players that play two-way basketball, and compared to last year's team, which was just as fierce and even more defensive dominant, I didn't really know how this team was going to come in this year with a bunch of new pieces and how it was going to translate. Well, I can tell you this is a team that's done a great job of limiting their opponents on the offensive glass. They make shots difficult with the pack line defense, forcing people to off-balance spots and more difficult shots in general. I think that when you look at this offense, that's where the real change has been. This is a team that's capable of really dominating you from all three levels. They're more than competent at 75% from the free throw line as a team. And with guys like freaking with Kyle Rhode and Blake Preston up front, you definitely have skilled, capable, and physical defenders, guys that can also get their points. With Liberty in this matchup, playing Kennesaw twice, we've seen two different performances. One performance where it was a little closer, and that was definitely influenced a lot by Spencer Rogers and his 30-plus points in that game. In the second game, the following day, Spencer didn't have that type of scoring output, and then we saw Liberty have what I think is going to be a more likely scoring outcome. When I line this game, I line Liberty as a 21.5-point favorite and a 127 total. For the side, I think that it starts with Liberty having a strong first half where they have about a first half advantage of about 8 points. Kennesaw has been stout in first halves as of late, especially in the last 5 games. So it is important to notice. It is important to note that. But the difference is Liberty's been able to put up 40-plus in first halves. They've been averaging 44 over the last 5 games. And if they can hold Kennesaw under 30, I think that they'll be on their way to covering this number, even though it's a big number. Jim, I hope that you can find me a good number, hopefully with a 1 and a 7. But this Liberty team has been red hot, like bacon on the stove, not in the microwave. I'm telling you, 12 a game, 49%. If that's able to repeat itself, I think that Liberty is going to give us a sweat-free, non-ass clench cover because they're going to own the defensive glass. They're going to have ball security. And this is a team that on a high end turns the ball over 9 times a game. So crisp ball movement with tons of different ball handlers, whether it be McGee, Chris Parker, Cuffey, Drake Dobbs, or even Keegan McDowell. I think that obviously this is a Liberty team that's played on neutral courts, has played in these tournament situations. They're very good ATS in the day. They've done a good job of covering numbers in this range, and I think that they do it one more time for us. So let's ride Liberty, and hopefully the pack line defense comes through, keeps Kennesaw under 60 points, and Liberty gets above 77.
Liberty minus 17.5 at minus 110, available at a few books. Some have moved to 18, but FanDuel is one of them that is hanging the 17.5 at minus 110. And you have any interest in the under?
No, I'm not going to make the under a play on the show, but I will say this, Jim. This is not going to be a Toledo Central Michigan. This will be a Liberty game. Don't worry about that.
There you have it. We are off and running. Asun Championship quarterfinal. We move on. 3 p.m. Eastern. Morgan State Bears in the Meac at Delaware State Hornets. Morgan State 11-6, 6-4 in conference. Delaware State 2-15, 0-10 in conference. We're at Memorial Hall in Dover, Delaware. Morgan State can be booked at either 10.5 or 11-point favorites. This total either 155.5 or 156, depending on where you shop. Morgan State shut down all athletic activity. Now, this is Morgan State University. Morgan State University shut down all athletic activity in mid-February. There was 40 positive cases of the coronavirus, including the athletic director, Edward Scott. So he suspended everything. 13 of 14 teams. 13 of those teams have since returned to competition, except for the bowling program. The fucking bowlers. Taking it right in the bottom mouth. You fucking bowlers. Find the reels. Actually, no, I love bowling. I fucking love bowling. But sorry, bowlers, stay on the sidelines. They were last seen, this basketball team, losing home games on back-to-back nights to Norfolk State. They lost each game by single digits as 4-point favorites. It was a red flag that they weren't able to get right. Those games came on the heels of barely squeezing past this Delaware State Hornets team, 74-69 at home. Morgan State beat Delaware badly on the boards, 47-30, but went just 3 of 16 from 3. Troy Baxter leads the team, averaging 16.9 points. Detorian Ware next at 14.9. Then Malik Miller averages 12.9 to go with 8.4 boards. They score 80.4 points per game, shoot 44% from the field, 34% from 3, 76.1% from the stripe. Delaware State closed out the season losing 3 straight by double digits. The last 2 were at home versus Coppin State. The Hornets' defense is so weak. They allow 86 points per game, and their shooting is not strong enough to keep them in games. They turn the ball over 16.7 times a game. They're led by Miles Carter, who scores 14.9 points per game. They hit 39.4% from the field, 31.1% from 3, and 69.5% from the stripe. Max, Morgan State, Delaware State, Meac action, 3 p.m. Eastern. Take it away.
Yeah, Jim, I think that that last game against Delaware State definitely was an eye-opener of what this team needs to do in this upcoming matchup. What they got to do simply is keep Zach Ken and Amir Bennett from contributing on the offensive glass and giving these guys second chance opportunities. Another thing with Delaware State that I've noticed from watching a ton of their games is that they are much more comfortable and I think a better shooting team on the road, especially when it comes to guys like Miles Carter. I think that you do get the benefit of very good point guard play and you do have size and strength at the majority of positions. So Morgan State really is going to have to work hard on the inside to have their usual advantage on the glass with second chance opportunities and being able to score inside the paint and get into the free throw line. I think that when you look at the weapons that they have on paper, this should be a Morgan State win. They got to keep Delaware State out of the paint. They got to limit their fouling. They got to do a better job of boxing out, like I said, and just not become 3-point happy. Every time that we see this team lose or not cover a double-digit spread is because they shot under 20% from the 3-point line. One thing that you can count on with Morgan State is that they are going to make free throws. They are going to get there 20-something times a game, and they're going to convert a high percentage. But they have to force the issue. They have to be a little more aggressive on defense. I understand that they are a little lacking in depth, and their front court players are capable of picking up a couple quick fouls, especially Lagio Granson. But I think that you really got to just be a little more harassing on ball handlers. And with Pinky Wiley, this is a guy that knows the system. He can change the tempo to his liking based on how he's reading the defense. And with a point guard with that type of on-court IQ, you really have to be at your best defensively. Defense is going to be critical for Morgan State as well as a strong first half. And if you can keep Delaware State under 40% from the field and under 7 3-point makes and winning at the free throw line with volume and scoring off your offensive glass, I think that Morgan State's going to be able to cover this number. I lined the game at 14.5. So I think that Morgan State does a better job this time around of limiting their mistakes. They play better versus these lower quality teams in conference. And with Delaware State, they only have one win in this point range ATS. So they're not really giving me a lot to stand on as far as taking them at this number. So you want to give me Morgan State 10.5? I'll definitely take that.
Well, we do have that available. Morgan State minus 10.5. I'm just seeing if I can get you anything better than that very quickly. And the juice to minus 118 at Fox Bet. We do have it nicely at Circa. Let's see if FanDuel can come in and help us here with Morgan State. No, they're at 11. Okay. Let's lock Max in. He's going to be minus 10.5 on Morgan State at minus 110. Morgan State minus 10.5 minus 110 at Circa. And we continue on through Max's card. We move over to the A10 Championship second round. This is a beauty game. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Rhode Island Rams 10-14, 7-10 in conference versus Dayton Flyers 13-8, 9-7 in conference. We're at Stewart C. Siegel Center in Richmond, Virginia. And let's see what we are dealing with here. Sorry, a lot of things open. Dayton opening up as 3-point favorites. Wow, that's quickly moved to 4.5. This total opened up at 135. It's at either 136.5 or 137. Rhode Island closed the season losing 6 of 7 games. Their lone win was a double overtime victory at home over these Dayton Flyers. They're coming off an 86-75 loss at Duquesne. Second leading scorer, senior guard Jeremy Shepard, hurt his ankle in the loss. He will not be available for the game. They're led by leading scorer, senior Fats Russell, who scored 27 points in that loss at Duquesne. In the game before that, 78-70 loss to George Washington. He was 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. He's averaging 15 points, 4.3 boards, 4.3 assists on the season, and he's coming on late. Fats Russell, Jeremy Shepard, only Rams averaging double digits. As a team, they score 71.4 points, hit 44% from the field, 30.9 from 3, and 67.5 from the stripe. Dayton closed out their season with a big 55-52 win at St. Bonaventure as 7-point dogs. They shot 45.5% from the field, 50% from 3 to secure the win. 50% from 3 to secure the win. But they almost gave the game away. They turned the ball over 21 times. E.B. Watson was the only player to score double digits in the win with 14 points. He's averaging 15.6 on the season. Jalen Crutcher averages 18.2. Watson, 15.6. 6'10 freshman. Mustafa Amzil averages 10 points a game. They score 69.6 points per game. They shoot nice, 47.8 from the field, 36.5 from 3, 72.2 from the stripe. Very interesting spot here, Max. A10 Championship, second round, Rhode Island, Dayton. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that aside from my St. Bonaventure Bonnies, this is the other underdog when it comes to this conference and when it comes to conference futures. Luckily, they're on the other side of the bracket, so I'm happy about that. But this Dayton team, listen, they're healthy. They're fired up. They feel disrespected, and they're out for blood, out of their own words. So when I listen to some of the player interviews and Anthony Grant talking about the quality of defense that he expects this team to be able to play against this Rhode Island team, I just think that it's a bad matchup and a bad time to be Rhode Island and be playing Dayton. I think that with Dayton, this is a team that has to take advantage of a bludgeon Rams team. And it is important to also know that the Rams are good at this number. They are 2-1. So I think that Dayton is playing with a little bit of revenge when you cough up a game the way that they did, and then you're able to have a third game to go around, get a little bit of revenge. I think that that's going to be key. I love the fact that Chapman's back in the lineup for Dayton. I didn't like it, obviously, against my Bonnies. However, it does put Elijah Weaver where he belongs on the bench, playing a supporting role, not a complimentary role. And I think that with Jalen Crutcher, this is his time of year. I'm sure he's been on the phone with Obi Toppin. Obi's like, listen, bud, you made it happen for me. You got me to the NBA. Now it's your turn to shine, so let's see you do it. And I think they're going to. You know, I respect that the fact that this line is moved. I think that it is smart and accurate money. But now with this move at 4.5, Jim, I have to look at a first half play only on Dayton. I think that without enough value at this elevated number, first half's the only way to play it for me, and then to use it as a parlay filler. So I think that if Dayton's going to be able to cash for us, I think that the 3-point defense is going to be critical. Not locking down, but presenting the illusion of open 3-point shots, because we know that this Rhode Island team does not make a lot of threes without Jeremy Shepard in the lineup. And if you can give them the impression that they can make them, well, they may go 4 for 22 or something like that. I think that with Dayton, you got to keep the fouls low and you got to have balanced scoring. You got all these weapons now in the front court or back court. You need 4 of them at least to stand up and give you double figures. I think that when you look at Dayton, some of the biggest strengths that they've had in conference are making second half adjustments. And I think that if you're live betting this game also and we cash the first half, it's probably a move to make on Dayton because they're not a team on most occasions that's going to cough up leads and blow your second half plays. I think that with the way that Dayton guards physically and hard on the perimeter, it's just going to be difficult for Rhode Island and especially Fats Russell to do anything and get going. I think that with Fats coming off such a big offensive game, there is definitely some precedent to make a case for him having an off game next time out. If Dayton's strong on the defensive glass and limits their turnovers, which have been around 15 a game, I do think that they are going to be able to take advantage of a susceptible Rhode Island team that needs a high tempo to get the shot attempts that they need. So
Dayton it is. First half, do you have a limit?
2.5.
2.5. Okay. And a parlay filler, the Dayton Flyers. Interesting. There is a 4.5 at minus 106 available, but I understand your feeling there. Just too high?
Yeah, I think that when you saw that opening number of 3, maybe you go to 3.5, but we're talking about a conference tournament. Everybody's going to have the same kind of motivation. I just think that with Dayton being healthy and having as many different interchangeable pieces, the first half is going to give you a better indication. And then obviously we don't have any possibility of a tale of two halves, which happened way too often in college ball.
I hear you. All right. We will shop for Max in the morning. We move on to 4 p.m. Eastern, and we head to the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Monmouth Hawks, 10-7, 10-6 in conference at Ryder Bronx, 5-14, 5-11 in conference. This game pops off at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're at the Alumni Gymnasium in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. Let's see what we are dealing with in this Monmouth spot. Monmouth opening up as 5-point favorites. That's down to 4.5. This total opened up at 154. We now see 155.5 on the board. Monmouth coming off losing back-to-back games at Iona on February 19th and 20th. Afterwards, Iona had a positive COVID case, and Monmouth had to shut down due to precautionary reasons, canceling their final 2 games at home against Fairfield. Monmouth has 3 players averaging double digits, led by senior Dion Hammond, who averages 17.4 points per game. They score 77.6 points per game, hit 42.7% from the field, a healthy 37.1% from 3, and 71% from the stripe. Ryder snapped a 4-game losing streak with a 78-65 win at St. Peter's on Saturday night. Alan Powell had a career-high 25 points. He went 7 of 8 from 3. I mean, he's averaging just 7.9 points per game on the season. Dwight Murray Jr., their leading scorer, 17 points and 7 boards. He's the only Bronc averaging double digits at 14.9. They average 67.3 points per game, hit 42.6% from the field, 34.3% from 3, and they're nice from the stripe at 74.8%. Max, MAAC, Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, Monmouth Hawks, Ryder Bronx, take it away.
Yeah, Jim, I got to definitely look at the over in this game because both these teams have shoddy first half defense. And if both offenses are going and humming, you could see 80 points in the first half, and that could definitely help the total. Both these teams are high volume field goal attempt teams. And with their 3-point defense, I think that both of them are going to give each other opportunities to score the basketball at around 35%. So 8 to 16 makes pretty much combined from both of these 3-point defenses is going to aid the over as well. I think that when you look at Monmouth and Ryder, both of them do a good bit of running and get to the free throw line. So with Ryder, that's one of the keystones of their offense is to run on makes, run on misses, and they got the ball handlers to do so, and guys like Dwight Murray and then obviously Christian Ings can handle it too. I think that with Monmouth, you really got to just get past the fact that you're not playing Iona, and when they're not playing Iona, this is a pretty good side to be involved with, whether they be on the road or at home. I think that they're definitely better in first games of these back-to-backs, and I expect them to be at their best in this first game. I don't think that the layoff's going to really have an effect at this time in the season. I think that you're going to see probably more high percentage looks, and that's going to benefit also the total. With Monmouth, though, this is a team that does thrive on taking the ball away from their opponent, and if they can do that to the tune of around 17 times, I do think that there is going to be a decent amount of points off those turnovers. While I'm not going to say that you're going to get maybe 1.5 points a turnover, but if you can get 15 to 17 off of them, I think that they've served their offensive purpose. And with Monmouth, they got to bring it early versus Ryder, because from watching the Ryder series versus St. Peter's, we saw Ryder come out strong and go into half with leads in both games, I believe. So this is definitely a spot where Monmouth, by my numbers, has an advantage on the spread, and I'll be looking to take them. And I'll also be looking to take the over, where I can see this game getting into the high 150s, maybe even into the 160s.
Well, Max, you have a spectacular, which I don't think I've said all year, spectacular betting situation here. I see 156.5s everywhere, but BetMGM is offering a 154.5. I've refreshed it. It's eligible right now. You want the over 154.5 to get started?
Yes, please.
All right, we will start there. The over 154.5 at minus 110. And then let's see what we can get. I only saw 5.5, so I wonder if I can beat that. Monmouth 5.5 at minus 105 is at BetMGM. Fox Bet doesn't have this game up. FanDuel was the same. Didn't have this up. Circa hanging a 4.5. Oh, perfect. And Bet365 hanging a 4.5. Okay, so they're both hanging 4.5. So lock that in?
Yes, please.
All right. Monmouth minus 4.5, minus 110 at Circa. And we are in business, Max. That's Max's afternoon action. We move on to nighttime action. We go back to the Asun, 7 p.m. Eastern, the Stetson Hatters in the Asun Championship quarterfinal. 10-13, 7-9 in conference versus the Bellarmine Knights, 13-6, 10-3 in conference. We're back at University of North Florida Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. And let's see what I have here. Bellarmine opening up as 5.5-point favorites. There are 6s on the board. This total is anywhere between 142.5 and 144.5. Oh, excuse me, 145. Wow. So a huge mix here. That just moved to 145. Very interesting. So 2.5 points of difference in the market confusion. Stetson closed the regular season with a big 85-68 win at home over North Florida on Saturday night. They led 51-31 at the half. For the game, they shot 54.2% from the field, 56.3% from three. They have 3 players averaging double digits, led by point guard Rob Perry, who averages 14.9 points, 4.5 boards, and 3 assists. They score 72.3 points per game, hit 43.6% from the field, a strong 37.9% from 3, and 69.8% from the foul line. Bellarmine defeated Stetson twice during the regular season, both at home, 67-62 and 76-65. They were very strong in their first season in Division I. They closed the regular season out on a sour note as Liberty came to Bellarmine and snapped their 10-game winning streak, 94-78. They allowed Liberty to shoot 62.5% from the field, 60% from 3. Bellarmine scores 74.5 points per game, allows just 64.9. Strong offensively, led by Pedro Bradshaw, who averages 15.6 points, 7.2 boards. They shoot the ball very well, 51.3% from the field, 36.9 from 3, 75% from the stripe. Does Bellarmine bounce back, Max, after getting their winning streak halted by Liberty here in the Asun Championship quarterfinal?
Well, Jim, Bellarmine's been a fantastic addition to D1. They've been a fantastic addition to your bankroll on a nightly basis when they're playing. And I think that going up against Stetson a third time, it's always very difficult to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. And I think that they're getting Stetson at pretty much the worst time that you can get them. While Stetson definitely has been a little inconsistent in the first games of these back-to-backs, well, this is conference tournament time. You win or you go home and you eat craft dinner in a room by yourself. If I'm the Stetson Hatters, I don't want to do that. That's not fun. I want to play basketball. But with Bellarmine, they are just on a mission, They're playing with a chip on their shoulder. This is a team that was a very respectable D2 team. They play in a state that respects and has a lot of pride in their college basketball. And these guys play fantastic team balanced basketball. They take good shots. They make the extra passes. But they need a couple things for them to go right. This is a team that has to make the extra pass, like I said, and they got to have 3-point defense because against this group of Stetson Hatters, with the way that they're shooting the three as of late, if they don't lock that down, they could be in trouble because Stetson's hitting 10 a game at over 42%. They're going to need some bench production from Alec Freem or Justin Betts. And if they get that, I think that they can cover this number. I think when you look at Stetson, the problem is in taking them is, well, that Rob Perry's a dependable source for offense on a regular basis. But Christian Jones, over his last couple games, I think it's like 5 or something, he's averaged close to 27. So that's an element that if you're getting production from both those guys, Bellarmine may have a little more trouble covering this number. I'm going to take Bellarmine again because I do think that with Bellarmine's 3-point defense, it could get negated by the fact that Bellarmine does such a good job of going inside and out. I think that they're going to make a better effort to get the best shot possible, and they're going to be able to keep Stetson out of the lane. And if they can keep them below 1.0 point per possession, I do think that they're going to be able to cover this number. When I look at the first half, Bellarmine definitely has a first half advantage. So the best thing to do is to start strong, build a big lead that you can, I guess, take your foot a little off the pedal in the second half, and just to dominate with your field goal defense. Make Stetson take jump shots and limit their possessions. Try and slow them down because with the way that they've been running up and down the floor, it's a hard game to say no to the over on. So I'm going to take Bellarmine. They're not playing Liberty. I think that they're better than the majority of competition in this conference. And while Stetson definitely is a team that should be respected, I don't think that they're going to be able to keep it consistent for 40 minutes and beat this team at what they do better. So
most books have moved to 6 here. There's one book hanging the 5.5, and that's circa -5.5 and -110. Does that work?
Yes, it does.
-5.5 and -110. I was wondering if you were going to back Bellarmine here because I love the fact that Liberty gave him that wake-up call before the conference tournament, and I bet you the coach likes it too. Nice little wake-up call, understand what you're dealing with, and so that is a nice look you have there in the Asun Championship quarterfinal.
You got to have some motivation if you're Bellarmine because you're like, well, this Liberty team got the best of us. Now let's go run through this tournament. Let's meet up with them in the championship again. So I think that they're on a mission, and we've seen these Division I first-year teams do very well, but most of them are ineligible for postseason consideration. So to see one in it definitely has a little bit more motivation, in my opinion.
Great breakdown. Bellarmine, -5.5 and -110. That is available at Circa Sports. Now we move on to late action for Max. He's got a 9 p.m. game, a 9:30 p.m. game, and the 11:59 p.m. Eastern to close out his card. Exciting stuff. We move over to the Big Sky Northern Colorado Bears, 10-9, 6-7 in conference at Weber State. Wildcats, 16-5, 11-3 in conference. We're at the Event Center in Ogden, Utah. Let's see what we are dealing with here. Weber State opening as 10.5-point favorites. That's moved down to 9.5, market wide. The total opened up at 147.5. That's moved to 146.5, market wide. Northern Colorado had their 2-game winning streak snapped in a 73-65 home loss to Portland State on Saturday as 2-point favorites. Dalen Kuntz had 23 points for the Bears. He's averaging 13.7 on the season. Leading scorer Bodie Hume had an off night, scoring just 7 points. He averages 14.6 on the year. The only other player averaging double digits, Matt Johnson, who averages 13.4 on the season. The Bears score 69.4 points per game, but they get poor distribution, just 10.7 assists per game. They hit 44.8% from the field. They're strong from 3 at 37.4%, but hit just 65.3 from the foul line. Weber State closed the season winning 5 straight, 9 of 10. They're coming off beating Sacramento State twice in 3 nights last week. They were led by Isaiah Brown, who averages 18 points per game. He's one of 3 Wildcats to average double digits. Their 4th leading scorer, 6'9" senior Dante Bassett, is listed as questionable to play due to an illness. Weber State scores 82.9 points per game. They allow just 69.8. Excellent shooting squad, 51.4% from the field, 39.9% from 3, and 77.5% from the stripe. Weber State here, favorites in Utah. Max, take it away, Big Sky Country.
Yeah, it sucks that I'm going to have to take a 9.5 on the show because I got 11 on Northern Colorado before the show. But the bottom line is this Weber State team, they've had spread issues on the road versus teams below 500. They have not had those same troubles at home. And that's what makes it really hard to get on the other side. But I'm going with what my number says. I would have only made Weber State an 8.5-point favorite in this game. I think that in their step-up competition games at home that are most recent in my memory, the only ones that really come to mind is the Montana State series, which they weren't able to win either game by double-digit scoring. I think that with Weber State, definitely not having the services of Dante Bassett, and I capped the game with him not playing, hurts them, especially against guys like Kurt Jokic. Kurt Jokic, our fellow Canadian, 6'9" front court player, is a guy that takes the ball in high percentage areas under 10 feet away from the bucket. And listen, he can be trouble. He's caused trouble for this Weber State team. Luckily, though, this is a complete roster turnover from the teams that have had trouble with this Northern Colorado roster the last couple years. And I think that while Northern Colorado definitely doesn't really ring the whole bell of, oh, I want to take them on the money line, I do think that they can lose this game by 9 points or less, but 9 points or more. But with Weber State, it's hard to go against them. Isaiah Brown's played flawlessly and fantastically. Zaire Porter's really been a difference maker, and Dylan Jones, he's ready to emerge and dominate in any given game that he has a major matchup advantage. The thing with Northern Colorado that attracted me most to this side was the fact that they are a very good first half team. Weber State is usually the team that's able to jump out to that 5 to 8 point lead, but with Northern Colorado, whether they be on the road or at home, they've done a good job of them getting out to a lead. If they can get out to any kind of lead, whether it be 1, 2, or even 3 points, I think that it just bodes that much better in the second half for Weber State, because that's where they've had their advantages, in my opinion. They've done a good job of taking care of the ball, but they need to get more field goal attempts. And as of late, the tempo's really slowed down. And I think that they've been a lot more methodical, and I don't think that works against Northern Colorado. I think that with Northern Colorado getting an outlier performance from Dalen Kuntz, you probably can't expect 25 from him again. But with Bodie Hume, listen, if they're in a situation where they're playing from behind and they're trying to stay within this number, they don't have to go to the free throw line and make free throws. It's not going to be a foul situation and extending of games, and that's where Northern Colorado costs you money. When they're in this role as a dog at this kind of point range, that's where they have value. And with the way that this team can facilitate their offense, their continuity, their strength, and their age. I just don't see them freaking trying to play outside of themselves against a very potentially dangerous and potent offense like Weber State. I think that Northern Colorado gets the three-point shot going. I think that the defense is improved, especially inside the arc. And with the rim protectors that Northern Colorado has, along with the double teams that they can bring on with traps with Kuntz and freaking Matt Johnson, I think that Northern Colorado is going to stay within this number. So obviously I'm getting a worse number than I took. But I don't think that Weber State's going to have a 57% effective field goal percentage against Northern Colorado. So
it's moved to 9 at Circa, and there's 9.5 that I can get you, but there's one 9.5 at FoxBet that's at plus 100. So at least we can give you a juiced free 9.5. Is that what you want?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Northern Colorado Bears plus 9.5 at plus 100 for Maxwell Smart. We move on at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We head to the Mountain West. Wyoming Cowboys 12-9, 6-8 in conference at Utah State Aggies 16-7, 13-4 in conference. We're at the Glenn Smith Spectrum in Logan, Utah. Let's see what we have here from a market perspective. We have Utah State opening up as 16.5-point favorites. That's where they stand now. The leading indicator book or books have moved it to 16, but the market hasn't followed suit at this point. This total opened up at 149.5. It's at 149, and there is a 148.5 on the board. Wyoming hasn't played in 2 weeks due to their games with San Jose State being canceled due to positive COVID cases in the Spartan program. They were last seen in 2 comfortable wins at home over New Mexico. They have balanced scoring, with 4 players averaging double digits, led by freshman Marcus Williams, who averages 15.9 points, 4.1 assists. They did lose one of those players, Kenny Foster, to a season-ending knee injury in January. Hunter Maldonado also averages double digits, 12.2 points, and 4.6 assists. The two have the ball in their hands all game long. Wyoming only turns the ball over 11.4 times a game. They score 76.1 points per game, hit 44.2% from the field, 34.8% from 3 and 71.8% from the foul line. After losing twice in 3 nights at Boise State, Utah State bounced back to defeat Nevada twice at home last weekend. First win was by just 3. The following win was by a healthy 21. Nemius Queta, 26 points, 13 boards. Justin Bean, 17 points, 13 boards. Queta and Bean alone had more than Nevada's 24 total rebounds. Utah State collected 47 boards total. The 7-foot Queta averages 14.8 points, 9.7 boards. The 6'7" Bean averages 10.8 points, 7.5 boards. Utah State averages 75.2 points per game. They allowed just 63.6 strong defense. They had 45.4% from the field, 34.2% from 3, and 72.6% from the stripe. Max, Wyoming Cowboys, Utah State Aggies, Mountain West action. Take it away.
Yeah, I think that with Utah State, there's definitely a lot of intriguing aspects of them, but taking them at this type of number is just very difficult for me. I think that with Utah State, their defense is very, very respectable, and they are playing for a potential NCAA tournament berth, whether it be from a conference tournament victory or whether it be an at-large bid. I think that with Utah State, they've done a really good job of limiting your opportunities on the offensive glass. They've done a good job of turning you over in the half court and making you take difficult shots. Where I think that all these things won't play a factor is against an opponent like Wyoming. With Wyoming, this is a Coach Jeff Linder team, which means that they can negate any kind of advantage that you have on the glass and inside the paint with hot three-point shooting. This is a team that's going to put up 30-plus three-point shot attempts in any given game, and even though the percentage is low, the volume and the makes are there. And what does Utah State have an issue with? Three-point defense. So I think that this is a spot that Wyoming can really take advantage of. They usually do a very good job of taking care of the ball, and taking care of the ball being done by a freaking freshman. So Marcus Williams has been absolutely thrilling to watch this year. He has a fantastic eye and a real good feel for how his teammates and where they're going to be to get them the ball. And I think that him and Hunter Maldonado have really played very well together. I think that with Hunter Maldonado, obviously the three-point shot has not been there, but with guys like freaking Drake Jeffries and Kwani Marble, you got other guys that can freaking throw it up for you. I think that with Hunter Maldonado, he's going to have to play a very useful role also on defense. And against Justin Bean, that's going to be a very tough matchup for him. So he's going to have to bring Bean out to the perimeter, and he's going to have to make him have to guard him out there. I think with Hunter Thompson going up against Keita, that's definitely going to be an intriguing matchup. But if Wyoming's going to get beat somewhere out of the three levels on offense, they'd rather get beat in the paint than on the three-point line. I think that with Wyoming, they need lots of trips to the free throw line. It's just going to be a matter of how many points they leave at the free throw line, which on average they've been leaving anywhere from freaking 5 to 8 points. I think that with Utah State, listen, they got 2 big wins over the last 10 games. One of them obviously was just against Nevada, but only 2 out of the 10 have been over 16 points. So if you do play it by that kind of percentage, you do have a little bit of value taking Wyoming at this number. The one issue is how vulnerable is Wyoming going to be on the defensive glass? Are they going to be able to box out, or are they going to give up 15 offensive rebounds? If they can box out and they can get some decent ball distribution and limited turnovers from Marcus Williams, I think they have the personnel to stymie the best part of Utah State's offense. You just have to pick your poison. I think that with Wyoming, if they don't score 75 plus in this game, they have no shot at covering, because obviously Utah State plays with defense. And at this number, odds makers are definitely giving us the impression that it is a route under type situation. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how bad it's going inside the arc and in those high percentage areas. If they can make 3-point shots and they can make some of those perimeter shots that Utah State's a little more difficult, they're going to be able to have a balanced attack and stay in this game. I'm going to take it with Wyoming because I only line Utah State as a 14-point favorite. This very easily could get out of hand, but if Wyoming hits threes, I think that they're going to stay in and keep it real nice and close.
Wyoming Cowboys plus 16.5, minus 110 at FanDuel. A couple books have moved it to 16, but we can get you that hook, Max. And we move on to Max's final game on the card, a DGen special for us at 11:59 p.m. Eastern in the West Coast Conference Tournament first round. Portland Pilots 6-14, 0-11 in the WCC versus Santa Clara Broncos 10-7, 4-5, and we're at Orleans Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's see what we are dealing with here in this beauty at 11:59. We have Santa Clara 13.5-point favorites. We've seen no movement on this side of things. The total opened up at 145. There are a couple 144.5s on the board. Portland is on a 12-game losing streak with all but one of those coming by double digits. They've lost each of their last 5 by 20+. Now, we thought we were fading them last week with Max against San Diego Toros, and that game was canceled. So we haven't seen Portland Pilots since that 80-58 home loss to Pacific on Saturday night 2 weeks ago. They were destroyed on the boards 39-20. Star guard, Toronto-born senior Ahmed Ali has been out of the lineup since February 6th with an Achilles injury. He is again listed as questionable to return. He was listed as questionable to return against San Diego, and Max capped that game with him out of the lineup. Third leading scorer Latrell Jones is also listed as questionable to play. I asked Max if this team was giving up on its season, and Max felt that, you know, there are a couple teams maybe that have done that, but this may not be one of them. They average 40.6% from the field, 32.9% from three, and 77.7% from the stripe. Santa Clara coming off playing Gonzaga tough in Spokane. They lost 89-75 as 31-point dogs. They were down just 2 at the half, and they should go now into the tournament with confidence. They beat Pepperdine, and then they played the Bulldogs as tough as anyone. All 4 starters scored double digits with senior – I shouldn't say all. 4 starters scored double digits with senior Christian Carlisle finishing with 9. The bench only provided 4 points, but they're led by 6'9" senior center, Toronto-born Canada product Joseph Frankic, who averages 15.3 points, 8.7 boards. He had a double-double against Gonzaga. They had 42% from the field, just 29.8% from 3, and 68.4% from the foul line. Max, Santa Clara, Portland. Does Santa Clara keep rolling after that game against Gonzaga and cover this 13.5-point spread?
Jim, I think that Santa Clara definitely is going to have a lot of matchup advantages and a lot of advantages in different critical areas of this game. I think that when you look at their ability to play defensive and really stop a lot of the ball penetration and close out on three-point shooters with effectiveness, it's a very hard spot to not bet against Portland. I'm still capping this game as Ali not playing, and I do think that although the numbers do not look good for this Santa Clara team on paper, this is a team that does still get a very balanced shot selection. There are multiple guys taking ownership of the offense at different points in this game. And listen, like, they're going to be missing guys. They're not going to have Keyshawn Justice. They're probably not going to have DJ Mitchell. So they're going to be playing with a little less depth, but they have the size to really stranglehold you, turn this into a rock fight, limit possessions, and just pound you down low. With Jaden Badeko, he's 6'10". With Vrankic, he's 6'9". With Caruso, he's 6'11". You could run out a lot of size at a team in Portland who really just doesn't have the personnel to go up against you. I think that playing this game ugly, playing this game low scoring is going to be very important for Santa Clara, as well as converting these high percentage shots. I think that we've seen them miss a whole bunch of gimmies around the rim. And if you do that against Portland, you're going to give them confidence and you're going to give them life. I think that this is a game where you see Santa Clara do a good job of protecting the rim against drivers, and the free throws that they don't make, don't end up being relevant and critical to this spread covering. I'm taking Santa Clara in this spot. I think they're going to have a little more defensive ball pressure. I think it's going to lead to a couple more takeaways, and scoring at the free throw line, scoring inside is going to be where they're going to do the most of their damage. Don't get into a game where you got to go deep into your bench, and when you have your advantage down low with all that size, keep it ugly, keep it slow, and bang out. I think Santa Clara is winning this game, and they're going to win this game by 15 or more.
Almost every 13.5 is juiced, and Fox Bets moved to 14. But Circa still has that 13.5 at minus 110. So let's give Max the Santa Clara Broncos minus 13.5 at minus 110. And that is from Circa Sports. Exciting card you have here, Max, for Thursday, March 4th. Let's review your action. Let me know if I made any mistakes. You start your card with the Liberty Flames minus 17.5 at minus 110. Then you move on to the Morgan State Bears minus 10.5 at minus 110. Then you move with the Dayton Flyers first half. We'll see what we can get you. You have a max at minus 2.5. You have Monmouth minus 4.5 at minus 110, and the over 154.5 at minus 110. And let me put that was from BetMGM, giving us that nice line there. You have Bellarmine Knights minus 5.5 at minus 110. You have Northern Colorado Bears plus 9.5 at plus 100. Wyoming Cowboys plus 16.5 at minus 110. And then you close your card up. You put a bow on it with the Santa Clara Broncos at minus 13.5, minus 110 at Circa. Does that all sound right?
Yes, sir.
There you have it, Maxwell Smart. It's going up on a Thursday. Max, you're having a great, great year. You've crossed the 400 bet threshold, and your ROI is over 6%. It's extremely impressive. Do you have any last words now that we've begun conference tourney time for the great cappers supporting the show?
Yeah, listen, I just say that get your Red Bulls, put some vodka in it, and freaking have a couple sips because we're going to have games from 11 till 11. It's going to be a grind. I'm going to be taking naps. I'm going to be eating apple danishes. I'm going to be sipping on, hopefully, apple juice and water. And obviously, when I celebrate, I'll have myself some chicken tenders. And what am I going to dip them in? The only thing that you dip chicken tenders in, honey. Honey from a package. It's wonderful.
It does sound wonderful. Max, great work. We will talk to you very, very soon. And let's keep rolling. On behalf of Maxwell Smart and myself, everybody, odds.com, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Get paid in